Welcome to Champion Stories. If this is your first time here, subscribe now and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. And now, on to today's story. The late afternoon sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Pacquiao mansion in General Santos City, casting golden rays across the polished marble floors. Manny sat in his private study, a room that housed countless boxing memorabilia, championship belts, and photographs chronicling his journey from the dusty streets of Kibawe to global stardom. Yet today, none of these symbols of his achievements held his attention. In his weathered hands, calloused from decades of training and countless fights, lay a small velvet box. Inside, nestled against cream-colored silk, sparkled a diamond necklace of extraordinary beauty. Each stone had been carefully selected, each setting meticulously crafted by the finest jewelers in Manila. The centerpiece was a heart-shaped diamond, flawless and brilliant, surrounded by smaller stones that caught the light like captured stars. But this wasn't merely an expensive gift born from his substantial fortune. The necklace represented something far deeper, something that had been weighing on Manny's heart for months. As he gazed at the jewelry, his mind drifted back to a conversation that had taken place exactly 25 years ago, when he was just a scrawny teenager with oversized dreams and empty pockets. The memory transported him to a small sari-sari store in their old neighborhood, where a young Jinky worked behind the counter, her bright smile lighting up the cramped space filled with basic necessities and snacks. Even then, before the world knew his name, before the millions of dollars and international fame, she had believed in him. While others saw only a poor kid from the provinces with wild ambitions, Jinky saw potential, determination, and a heart that refused to give up. Manny remembered how she would save the last piece of her favorite candy just for him, how she would listen to his dreams of becoming a champion when everyone else dismissed them as fantasies. She had been there during the lean years, when training meant skipping meals, when his mother Dionysia worried about his future, when boxing seemed like an impossible escape from poverty. The diamond necklace wasn't just jewelry, it was an embodiment of every sacrifice Jinky had made, every lonely night she endured while he trained in distant gyms, every moment of fear she experienced watching him fight opponents who seemed impossible to defeat. It represented her unwavering faith during the early defeats, her quiet strength when critics questioned his abilities, and her grace in handling the pressure that came with his rising fame. As Manny turned the box in his hands, he thought about their children, Jimuel, Michael, Princess, Queen Elizabeth, and Israel, and how Jinky had raised them with such love and wisdom while he traveled the world, pursuing victory after victory. She had been the steady foundation of their family, the constant presence that allowed him to focus on his career, knowing that home was secure and filled with love. The necklace also symbolized an apology, an acknowledgement of all the times his career had pulled him away from family dinners, school events, and quiet moments that she had handled alone. Every diamond represented a thank you for her patience, her understanding, and her ability to keep their family grounded despite the whirlwind of celebrity that surrounded them. Outside, the sounds of General Santos City continued, jeepneys honking, vendors calling out their wares, children playing in the streets. These were the sounds of the Philippines he loved, the country that had shaped him, and the place where his love story with Jinky had begun. Tomorrow would bring the moment he had been planning for weeks, when he would present this gift and finally express what words had never seemed adequate to convey. The afternoon light shifted, and Manny carefully closed the velvet box, his heart full of anticipation for what the next day would bring. The next morning arrived with the familiar humidity of the Philippine summer, and Manny found himself awake before dawn, a habit ingrained from decades of disciplined training. But today, instead of heading to the gym, he had different plans. The velvet box remained safely tucked in his jacket pocket as he quietly made his way through the house, careful not to wake Jinky or the children who were still enjoying their weekend sleep. Manny's destination was the family garden, a space that Jinky had lovingly cultivated over the years. She had transformed what was once a simple backyard into a sanctuary filled with sampaguita, roses, and various tropical plants that bloomed in vibrant colors throughout the year. This garden had become her retreat, a place where she found peace amid the chaos of their public life. As he walked among the flowering bushes, Manny began setting up what he envisioned as the perfect moment. He had enlisted the help of their longtime household staff, particularly Bayani, their gardener who had worked for the family for over 15 years. Bayani understood the significance of this gesture without needing lengthy explanations. He had witnessed the evolution of the Pacquiao family, from their modest beginnings to their current success, and he had seen how Jinky remained the heartbeat of their home. Together, they had spent the previous evening stringing small lights among the sampaguita bushes, creating a soft romantic ambience that would enhance the morning light. Manny had also arranged for fresh flowers to be delivered at sunrise. Not expensive imported varieties, but simple, local blooms that reminded him of the bouquets he used to buy for Jinky with his limited earnings during their courtship. The preparation wasn't just about creating a beautiful setting, it was about honoring their journey together. Every detail had been carefully considered to reflect their shared history. The location itself held deep meaning. This was where they often sat together in the evenings, discussing their children's future, sharing concerns about extended family, and dreaming about the legacy they wanted to leave behind. As Manny arranged the final touches, his thoughts wandered to a particular memory that had inspired his choice of the heart-shaped centerpiece diamond. Years ago, during one of his training camps in the United States, Jinky had sent him a letter, a handwritten note that arrived during a particularly difficult period when doubts about his career were creeping in. In that letter, she had drawn a simple heart at the bottom, alongside words that reminded him of her unwavering support. That small, hand-drawn heart had given him strength during some of his most challenging fights. He had carried the letter with him throughout that training camp, reading it whenever the pressure felt overwhelming. The heart-shaped diamond was his way of returning that symbol of love, but magnified into something eternal and unbreakable, just like their bond. The morning air carried the scent of blooming flowers and the distant aroma of breakfast being prepared by Clarita, their cook, who had also been briefed about the special morning ahead. Everything needed to flow naturally, without the fanfare that often accompanied public events in their lives. This moment belonged exclusively to them, away from cameras, interviews, and the expectations of the outside world. Manny checked his watch and realized that Jinky would likely wake up soon. She had always been an early riser, preferring the quiet morning hours to prepare for the day ahead and ensure everything was organized for their family. He positioned himself near the garden entrance, the velvet box feeling both weightless and monumentally heavy in his pocket. The anticipation was almost overwhelming. After 25 years together, 18 years of marriage and 5 children, he still felt the same nervous excitement he had experienced as a young man preparing to express his feelings for the first time. The soft creak of the bedroom door upstairs signaled that Jinky was beginning her morning routine. Manny's heart rate quickened as he heard her familiar footsteps moving across the hardwood floors above. 25 years together had made him intimately familiar with the rhythm of her mornings, the way she would first check on each of their children, ensuring they were comfortable and safe, before beginning her own preparations for the day. From his position in the garden, Manny could see the warm glow of lights being turned on in their bedroom window. He imagined her graceful movements as she tied her hair back, washed her face, and perhaps glanced out the window toward the garden where she would normally see only the everyday beauty of her carefully tended plants. Today, however, the subtle string lights would catch her attention, creating a question in her mind about the unusual early morning illumination. The minutes felt like hours as Manny waited, adjusting his position slightly to ensure he would be visible when she eventually made her way downstairs. His fingers traced the outline of the velvet box through his jacket pocket, a nervous habit that had developed over the past week of planning. The weight of the necklace seemed to increase with each passing moment, not because of the precious metals and stones, but because of the emotional significance it carried. As anticipated, Jinky's curiosity about the garden lights drew her outside. She appeared at the kitchen door that led to the garden, wearing a simple white cotton dress that Manny had always loved, unpretentious, elegant, and perfectly suited to the tropical morning. Her hair fell loosely around her shoulders, and her face carried the serene expression she typically wore during these quiet morning moments before the household fully awakened. The sight of her husband standing among the illuminated sampaguita bushes brought a gentle smile to her face, though her eyes clearly registered surprise at the unexpected scene. The morning light, filtered through the tropical foliage and enhanced by the carefully placed string lights, created an almost ethereal atmosphere around them both. Manny stepped forward, his usual confidence in the boxing ring replaced by a vulnerability that reminded him of their earliest days together. The garden setting felt perfect, surrounded by life that Jinky had nurtured, in a space that belonged entirely to their family, with the sounds of General Santos City slowly awakening in the background. He withdrew the velvet box from his pocket, opening it to reveal the spectacular diamond necklace. The morning light caught each facet of the stones, creating tiny rainbows that danced across the surface of the heart-shaped centerpiece. Jinky's reaction was immediate and profound. Her hand moved instinctively to cover her mouth, her eyes widening as she took in both the beauty of the jewelry and the obvious thought and planning that had gone into this moment. The necklace sparkled brilliantly, but it was clear that Jinky understood this was about more than expensive jewelry. Her expression showed recognition of the deeper meaning, the emotional weight behind this grand gesture. 25 years of shared experiences had created an understanding between them that transcended words. She could read in his eyes and posture the same vulnerability and love that had characterized their relationship from the very beginning. As Manny held the box toward her, the diamond heart caught a ray of sunlight that seemed to set it ablaze with inner fire. The symbolism was unmistakable. This wasn't just a gift, but a renewal, a celebration, and an acknowledgement of everything they had built together. The careful orchestration of the morning, the choice of location, and the timing all spoke to a man who understood that the most meaningful gestures often required the simplest settings. The garden around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting for this moment to unfold completely. With gentle movements that contrasted sharply with the powerful hands that had delivered countless knockout punches, Manny carefully lifted the diamond necklace from its velvet cradle. The morning breeze carried the sweet fragrance of Sampaguita through the garden as he stepped closer to Jinky, who remained perfectly still, her eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise, joy, and the profound understanding that comes from decades of shared love. The clasp of the necklace was delicate, requiring patience and precision, as Manny moved behind his wife to secure it around her neck. His fingers, which had learned to be gentle despite their strength, worked carefully with the intricate mechanism. The weight of the diamonds settled against Jinky's collarbone, the heart-shaped centerpiece resting just above her heart, a placement that seemed almost divinely orchestrated. As the necklace found its perfect position, Manny was transported back to the specific moment that had inspired this grand gesture. It was a memory from 2 months earlier, during a quiet evening when their extended family had gathered for a simple dinner. Jinky's sister Maritis had been struggling financially, facing the difficult prospect of her son Teodoro being unable to continue his education due to unpaid tuition fees. Without hesitation or fanfare, Jinky had quietly approached Manny that evening and suggested they help, not just with the immediate tuition problem, but with a more comprehensive solution that would ensure Teodoro could complete his studies. What struck Manny most profoundly wasn't just her generosity. He had witnessed her compassionate nature countless times over the years, but the way she had presented the situation. Jinky hadn't asked for money for herself, for new jewelry, or for any of the luxuries that their financial success could easily provide. Instead, she had seen an opportunity to change a young person's future, to extend the blessings they had received to someone who needed hope and opportunity. In that moment, Manny realized that while he had been accumulating wealth and recognition, Jinky had been quietly accumulating something far more valuable, a legacy of kindness that would outlast any championship belt or monetary fortune. The diamond necklace, therefore, represented his recognition of her true priorities and values. Each stone symbolized a moment when she had chosen family over personal gain, service over self-interest, and love over material pursuits. The heart-shaped centerpiece was his acknowledgement that she had always worn her heart openly, using it as a compass for their family's decisions and as a beacon for those who needed guidance and support. Standing behind her as the necklace settled into place, Manny could see how the diamonds caught the morning light and created a gentle sparkle that seemed to emanate from within Jinky herself. The jewelry enhanced her natural radiance rather than overshadowing it, much like how success and wealth had enhanced their lives without fundamentally changing who they were as people. The garden around them seemed to respond to the moment with its own quiet celebration. The Sampaguita flowers appeared more fragrant, the tropical birds sang more melodiously, and the gentle morning breeze felt like a blessing from above. Even Bayani, who was discreetly tending to plants in a distant corner of the garden, seemed to sense the significance of what was taking place and moved with extra reverence in his work. As Manny stepped back to admire how the necklace looked on his wife, he realized that this moment was creating its own precious memory, one that would join the collection of treasured experiences they had accumulated over their 25 years together. The necklace would become a tangible reminder of this morning, of this gesture, and of the renewed commitment to cherish and honor the woman who had been his anchor through every storm and celebration. The diamond heart pulsed with light as Jinky turned to face her husband, her expression radiant with love and gratitude that words could never adequately express. The transformation was immediate and profound. As Jinky turned to face Manny, the diamond necklace caught the strengthening morning light and seemed to illuminate her entire being. But beyond the physical sparkle of the precious stones, there was something deeper radiating from her expression, a recognition that transcended the material value of the gift and reached into the very essence of their relationship. Tears began to form in Jinky's eyes, not from sadness but from an overwhelming surge of emotion that encompassed gratitude, love, and a profound understanding of what this moment represented. The diamond heart rose and fell gently with her breathing, creating tiny flashes of light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her hands moved instinctively toward the necklace, fingers tracing the intricate setting with the reverence one might show a sacred relic. Manny watched his wife's reaction with intense focus, memorizing every detail of her expression, every subtle change in her posture, every tear that threatened to spill from her eyes. This was the response he had hoped for. Not just appreciation for an expensive gift, but recognition of the deeper message he was trying to convey. In her eyes, he could see that she understood this was his way of saying thank you for 25 years of unwavering support, sacrifice, and love. The moment carried them both back through a montage of shared memories. There was the night after his devastating loss to Eric Morales, when criticism and doubt filled every sports headline, and Jinky had simply held him without offering empty reassurances or false comfort, understanding that sometimes silent presence was more powerful than words. There was the morning after his mother, Dionysia, had publicly criticized some of his career decisions, when Jinky had navigated the delicate balance between supporting her husband and maintaining family harmony with wisdom beyond her years. The necklace also represented acknowledgement of her role during his political career, when she had gracefully handled the additional scrutiny and pressure that came with public service. While Manny was focused on legislative duties and public appearances, Jinky had continued managing their household, raising their children, and maintaining the stability that allowed him to serve his constituents effectively. As these memories flowed between them in the garden's peaceful atmosphere, their children began to stir upstairs. The sounds of Jimule, Michael, Princess, Queen Elizabeth, and Israel waking up created a gentle soundtrack to this intimate moment. Manny realized that this gesture wasn't just about honoring his wife, but about modeling for their children the importance of expressing gratitude and recognition to the people who matter most in life. The morning was progressing, and soon their household would come alive with the typical weekend energy of a large family. Clarita would be preparing breakfast, the children would be planning their day's activities, and the usual rhythm of family life would resume. But this moment in the garden would remain suspended in time, a crystallized memory that would influence how they approached their relationship going forward. Manny stepped closer to Jinky, close enough to see his own reflection in the diamond heart that now adorned her chest. In that reflection, he saw not the world champion boxer or the former senator, but simply a man who had been blessed with extraordinary love and wanted to honor that blessing appropriately. The necklace transformed from mere jewelry into a symbol of commitment, not just to their marriage, but to continuing to see and appreciate each other with fresh eyes, despite the familiarity that comes with decades of partnership. The garden around them seemed to exhale with satisfaction, as if nature itself approved of this expression of enduring love. The morning light grew stronger, promising a beautiful day ahead, but nothing could surpass the radiance of this moment they were sharing in their private sanctuary. The gentle embrace that followed was unlike any they had shared in recent memory. It wasn't the hurried affection exchanged between busy schedules or the perfunctory kisses shared before traveling to different obligations. This embrace carried the weight of recognition, the warmth of renewed appreciation, and the depth of a love that had weathered every storm life had thrown at them. As they held each other in the morning light, the diamond necklace pressed between them, Manny felt a profound sense of completion. The gesture he had been planning for weeks had achieved its intended purpose, not just to surprise Jinky with beautiful jewelry, but to create a moment that would reset their emotional connection and remind them both of the foundation upon which their life together was built. The sound of small footsteps on the stairs inside the house indicated that their youngest children were beginning to wake up. Queen Elizabeth, always an early riser like her mother, would likely be the first to discover the scene in the garden. Manny smiled at the thought of how their children would react to seeing their parents in such an obviously romantic moment, surrounded by the decorated garden and the spectacular necklace that now graced their mother's neck. But before their family time began, Manny wanted to extend this private moment just a little longer. He gently took Jinky's hands in his own, studying her face as she continued to process the magnitude of what had just occurred. The tears in her eyes had been joined by a radiant smile that seemed to light up not just her features, but the entire garden around them. The necklace had become more than an accessory. It had become part of her, as if it had always belonged there. The heart-shaped diamond caught every shift in the morning light, creating an ever-changing display of brilliance that seemed to reflect the dynamic nature of their relationship itself. Each facet of the stone revealed new depths of beauty, much like how each year of their marriage had revealed new layers of love and understanding between them. Manny's thoughts drifted to his mother, Dionysia, who would undoubtedly have strong opinions about such an extravagant gift. But he also knew that beneath any criticism, his mother would recognize the gesture for what it truly was: a son honoring the woman who had helped him become not just a better fighter, but a better man. Dionysia had always respected Jinky's role in keeping their family grounded and connected to their Filipino values, despite their international success. The morning air began to carry the sounds of their neighborhood coming to life. Jeepneys rumbled past their gate. Vendors called out their offerings in the distance, and the familiar rhythm of Philippine daily life provided a comforting backdrop to their intimate moment. These sounds reminded Manny of why he had chosen to build their primary residence here in General Santos City, rather than in some exclusive international location. This was home. This was where their love story had begun, and this was where it would continue to flourish. As if sensing the perfect timing, Princess appeared at the kitchen door, her young eyes immediately drawn to the unusual lights in the garden and the sight of her parents in such an obviously special moment. Her presence didn't interrupt the intimacy between Manny and Jinky, but rather added another layer of meaning to the scene. This wasn't just about a husband honoring his wife. It was about a father showing his children how love should be expressed and maintained throughout a lifetime. The diamond necklace sparkled brilliantly as Jinky turned slightly to acknowledge their daughter's presence, and in that movement, the true power of Manny's gesture became fully apparent. This moment would become part of their family's story, a memory that would influence how their children understood love, commitment, and the importance of expressing gratitude to the people who matter most. Princess's arrival at the kitchen door created a ripple effect throughout the house. Her gasp of wonder at seeing the illuminated garden and her parents in such an obviously romantic tableau was audible enough to draw the attention of her siblings. Within moments, Jimuel appeared beside her, followed quickly by Michael, and then Queen Elizabeth, who had been quietly getting dressed upstairs. The sight that greeted them was like something from a fairy tale. Their father and mother embracing in a garden, transformed by soft lights, with their mother wearing what appeared to be the most beautiful necklace any of them had ever seen. Israel, being the youngest, was the last to join the growing audience at the kitchen door. His sleepy eyes widened with amazement as he took in the scene, not fully understanding the significance of what he was witnessing, but instinctively recognizing that something magical was happening between his parents. The children remained respectfully quiet, somehow understanding that they were witnessing a moment that belonged primarily to their parents, even as they became part of its broader meaning. Manny was acutely aware of his children's presence, and rather than feeling interrupted, he felt a deep satisfaction knowing that they were observing this demonstration of how love should be expressed and maintained. This wasn't just a gift to Jinky. It was a lesson for Jimuel, Michael, Princess, Queen Elizabeth, and Israel about the importance of continuing to court and honor your spouse throughout a lifetime. not just during the initial stages of romance. The diamond necklace seemed to capture not just the morning light, but the attention and wonder of everyone present. Each child could see how the jewelry enhanced their mother's natural beauty, but more importantly, they could observe the profound emotional impact the gesture was having on both their parents. This was education in its purest form, learning about love, commitment, and gratitude through direct observation rather than instruction. Jinky's awareness of their children watching added another dimension to her emotional response. She understood that this moment was becoming part of their family's legacy, a story that would be told and retold, influencing how their children approached their own future relationships. The responsibility of modeling healthy love and appreciation was something she and Manny had always taken seriously, but never more so than in this illuminated garden moment. The necklace itself seemed to grow more significant with each passing minute. What had begun as a beautiful piece of jewelry was transforming into a family heirloom, a tangible symbol of enduring love that would someday be passed down to their children and grandchildren. Each diamond would carry not just monetary value, but the story of this morning, the memory of their parents, commitment to honoring and cherishing each other. From the kitchen window, Clarita watched the scene unfold with tears in her own eyes. Having worked for the Pacquiao family for many years, she had witnessed the challenges they had faced, the pressures of fame and success, and the way they had always prioritized their family relationships above all else. This gesture represented everything she had come to admire about them, their ability to remain connected to what truly mattered, despite the distractions of their public life. Bayani, still discreetly working in the far corner of the garden, felt privileged to be present for such an intimate family moment. His own marriage of 30 years had taught him the importance of grand gestures and small kindnesses alike. Watching Manny honor Jinky in this way reminded him of his own responsibility to continue expressing appreciation for his wife Ligaya, who waited for him at home each evening after his long days tending to the Pacquiao gardens. The morning sun continued its ascent, casting longer shadows across the garden and creating new patterns of light that danced across the diamond necklace. Each shift in illumination revealed different facets of the stones, much like how this single gesture was revealing multiple layers of meaning for everyone present. The heart-shaped centerpiece seemed to pulse with its own inner fire, a beacon of the love that had sustained this family through every triumph and challenge. As the moment stretched into its perfect conclusion, Manny realized that he had achieved something even more significant than he had originally intended. He had not only honored his wife and renewed their emotional connection, but he had also created a defining moment for their entire family, a memory that would influence their children's understanding of love for generations to come. The diamond necklace would forever be associated with this morning, this garden, and this demonstration of enduring commitment that had touched everyone fortunate enough to witness it. As the morning progressed and the initial magic of the moment began to settle into a warm, lasting glow, Manny took one final look at the diamond necklace adorning his wife's neck and realized that his gesture had accomplished something far beyond his original intentions. The heart-shaped centerpiece caught the strengthening sunlight one more time, sending brilliant reflections across the garden that seemed to bless everything they touched. The story of this morning would not remain contained within the walls of their home in General Santos City. Within hours, as family members called to check on weekend plans and friends stopped by for casual visits, word of Manny's romantic gesture began to spread throughout their extended network. But it wasn't the monetary value of the necklace that captured people's attention. It was the thoughtfulness behind it, the recognition of a woman who had spent decades supporting her husband's dreams while quietly building her own legacy of compassion and service. Marites, Jinky's sister, would learn about the necklace later that day during a family phone call. When she heard the story and understood the connection to her son Teodoro's education and Jinky's immediate willingness to help, she would be moved to tears by the realization that her sister was being honored not just as a wife, but as someone whose first instinct was always to help others. The diamond heart would come to represent not just romantic love, but the kind of love that extends outward to embrace entire communities. The household staff who had witnessed the garden ceremony would carry the story home to their own families, where it would inspire discussions about love, appreciation, and the importance of honoring the people who make our lives possible. Bayani would tell his wife Ligaya about the morning's events, and she would smile with the understanding of someone who had also spent decades supporting her husband's work with quiet dignity and unwavering faith. In the days that followed, the necklace would accompany Jinky to various social functions and charitable events, but its true power lay not in its ability to complement her outfits, but in its capacity to remind everyone who saw it of the story behind its giving. The diamond heart became a conversation starter that led to deeper discussions about marriage, commitment, and the ways successful couples continue to court each other throughout their lives. For their children, the memory of that illuminated garden morning would become a benchmark against which they would measure their own future relationships. Jimuel, Michael, Princess, Queen Elizabeth, and Israel had witnessed firsthand how love should be expressed and maintained, not just in grand gestures, but in the daily choice to see and appreciate your partner's contributions to your shared life. The most profound impact, however, was on Manny and Jinky themselves. The necklace had become a physical reminder of a renewed commitment to see each other with fresh eyes, to express gratitude regularly rather than assuming it was understood, and to create moments of connection amid the busy demands of their public and private responsibilities. As the sun reached its full strength that morning and the family gathered for breakfast, the diamond necklace continued to sparkle against Jinky's chest. But its true brilliance lay in what it represented. This wasn't just expensive jewelry given by a wealthy man to his wife. It was a symbol of recognition, appreciation, and the kind of love that grows stronger with time, rather than dimming with familiarity. The story of the diamond necklace would be told and retold throughout the Philippines and beyond, not because of its material value, but because it represented something precious that money cannot buy: the wisdom to honor the people who make our success possible, and the courage to express that honor in ways that touch every heart, fortunate enough to witness such devotion. Thank you for watching another episode of Champion Stories. If you enjoyed today's story, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming inspiring tales about Manny Pacquiao. Share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one, and many times your ideas inspire our next episode. See you next time.